Hey, it's Pizza Dude Man, back with more answers to your guys' questions. Before I begin answering questions today, I'd like to give a shout out to Jason Bernhardt for being the first person ever to donate to the channel. Thank you so much. Your support is very, very appreciated, and I spent your money on a video game. On with the questions. Our first question today is from BlizzM Pokemon Alliance. Which characters do you think deserve better color switches in SSB 5? Actually, I think SSB 4 did a really good job with the color switches. They added a lot of alternate costumes that characters had worn, or like with Lucina, they made the alternate colors based off of other characters that aren't playable. And Bowser Jr. was especially well done in that regard, actually becoming characters that were not otherwise playable. That being said, the thing that stands out to me, for whatever reason, is that a lot of the Pokemon don't just have their shiny form as a color switch. Like, some kinda do, and I think some don't at all. I'll have to double check on that. But, yeah, that's just something that's always stuck out to me. Our next few questions here are from Smash Bros. 2009. Were you saddened by the recent death of Adam West? Yes, I was. It's not like I knew him personally as a friend or anything like that, but of course, you're going to be sad anytime a celebrity passes away that, you watched a lot of or listened to a lot of or had some kind of impact. Are you excited that Star Fox 2 will be finally released on the SNES Classic Edition? I am. I thought that was a really pleasant surprise. Now, that being said, I'm probably not going to wind up getting it, because pretty much every other game on the SNES Classic Edition is a game I already own in some capacity, so I don't feel like spending $80 just for Star Fox 2, but it's a really cool novelty. What meme caught your eye that debuted this year so far? Did Shooting Stars meme debut this year? I don't remember if that's older or newer, but that one caught my eye. If that's not this year, I apologize. A couple more questions here from BlizzM. If the Inklings got into SSB 5, what would you choose for a Splatoon stage? I think I'd go with Port Mackerel, just because it's something that's been in both Splatoon and Splatoon 2. So it's something that's recurring and still simple. What fighting type do you like more, Hariyama or Passimian? I'm going to have to go with Hariyama just because I've never used a Passimian. Our next few questions here are from Ridley Crade 187. King K. Rool, Captain K. Rool, Baron K. Rulenstein, or King Crusher K. Rool? Personally, I like Crusher K. Rool because he has the most variety of moves, I think. Gold-plated K. Rool or Big Fat Belly K. Rool? I always thought gold-plated K. Rool was way more stylized. I mean, I know it doesn't make as much sense, but it was neat looking, I thought. What kind of moveset would you give yourself? I want to say I've answered this type of question before, but maybe I could do some, Trilby Oddjob things. Throw my hat out and boomerang it around. I could have pizza discs or pizza power-ups, and I could play my trumpet and do sound-based attacks. So, I got some options. If you had to give a Nintendo villain their own live-action theatrical movie, who would you pick and why? Oh, definitely Ganondorf. There's a big Nintendo villain that you could do a really interesting story arc and movie about. Like, I'm imagining something, you get a lot of, the Gerudo lore with Ganondorf being born into the Gerudo tribe, and then him growing up with, the resent and hate of how his people are secluded to a barren wasteland, and him trying to make things better for the Gerudo people, ultimately turning to evil and power and, giving into the demon inside him that is Ganon. I think that could make a really, really deep movie. I think that'd be cool. How would you feel if they made a DK level that is both a minecart and a rocket barrel stage? Something like where you're riding on a transformable device, depending on the obstacles and terrain below you, you have to press a button to transform between the two mid-level. Ooh, that'd be interesting. I like the concept. I think it would be good if it made the switch for you automatically. Like, you start in a rocket barrel, and then when you get to what would normally be the end of the stage and the rocket barrel kind of crashes, instead it is scripted to like crash down into a minecart and then suddenly you're in a minecart section. I think that would be really cool. I'd be like, if I was playing that, I'd be like, whoa, what? I'm in a minecart. Oh, it'd be fun. All right, we have a few more questions here from Blizz M. What is your opinion on the Hanenbo stage from SSBB? Do you think it would be a cool stage to come back to SSB5? Honestly, I did not care for the Hanenbo stage. If they did bring it back, I wish you could actually swim at the bottom and you don't just phase through. I don't know. I wasn't that into the Hanenbo stage. Top 3 countries that you have not visited but want to in the future. Japan, which I still have not visited and I really, really want to. I'm gonna say China and maybe Mexico. I mean, I visited Canada a lot, which is right next to the country I live in, but never Mexico, so that seems like it'd be kind of cool. What made you interested in music? Honestly, I just kind of grew up with it. My dad is a high school music teacher, so I grew up with that, and my mom plays violin in local groups, always has. So I just grew up with both of my parents being musicians, and I just kind of got into it. My parents started having me take piano lessons at a very young age, and then I decided I wanted to do trumpet when I got to be in like 4th, 5th grade. So it's just something I always grew up with. When I was a little kid, I just thought everybody had an instrument that they played. I didn't know that you could just not play an instrument. I just grew up with it. That's the end of the question. Here's a couple questions from PSB123. For as much as I like the idea of Young Link incorporating his masks into a moveset, the fact remains that Smash has ditched transformable characters so each fighter can focus on one moveset. Do you think this is too much of a hindrance for Young Link using the masks? Well, I was thinking you could use that idea without him literally transforming into different forms. Like, he goes into those forms for certain attacks. Kind of like, when you play as Young Link in Hyrule Warriors. Yeah, he'll use mask abilities for certain moves, and then just kind of quickly transform back and forth just because they're parts of the attacks. Like, you could have, his side B is Goron Roll, his up B is like Zora Dolphin Dive, or Deku Flight. Things like that. Maybe side B Zora Boomerang and down B Goron Pound. That's what I was thinking of. So that way you wouldn't do the transformation at all. Have you ever heard of Delzathan and his YouTube series of Challenger Approaching, an analysis series about potential Smash character movesets? I have not heard of it, and actually I was thinking about doing a series like that, so maybe now I shouldn't. Here's a few more questions from Blizz M. If you were to do another Let's Goof series, what game would you pick? I've thought of a lot, actually, that I would love to do, like Sims, Grand Theft Auto, Goat Simulator. I just haven't gotten around to doing any of them yet. Who are your top 3 video game acapella artists on YouTube? It's definitely Smooth McGroove, and then... honestly, I'm not sure if there's anyone else I really listen to that does video game acapella. I listen to Tsuko G, which is like acapella but with kazoos instead of voices. So, I'm sorry, I guess I just can't finish that question. Is there any music from Pokemon Sun, Moon, Breath of the Wild, or any other recent Nintendo game that you'd like to see in SSB5? Oh, lots. Let me focus specifically on those. I mean, for Sun and Moon, I'd love to see some of the Team Skull themes. Actually, man, Pokemon battle themes are always great. I wish they would just have more in general. I love the Kahuna battle theme. Breath of the Wild, man, so much of the music in Breath of the Wild is ambivalent. It'd be cool to hear the theme that they play throughout Hyrule Castle, though. I'm going to go ahead and move on. If you could add a character based off of Rosie's comics, who would it be and what moveset, Final Smash Victory theme, Codec Call, and Palutena's Guidance would it have? Jesus. I mean, I'd pick the main character from Rosie's comic, Nihil, who is a half-demon, half-angel swordsman. So he would use a sword-based moveset with a little bit of flight. Final Smash would be spoilery, so I don't want to say it because I want people to go read Rosie's comic. Victory theme. Oh gosh, a lot of Rosie's characters have like influences from music, from the music that Rosie listened to growing up. So that's something I should ask her about later. I know that like a lot of her characters had influences from certain songs. Codec Call and Palatina's Guidance. Once again, I think I'm going to keep those things hidden for now so that people can go check out Rosie's webcomic. It's called Deus Ballad of the Gods. And let's move on with the questions. Here's another one from PSB123. Back in subscriber questions 11, you gave the idea of Mirror B having a Pokemon trainer-style moveset with 3 Ludicolos. Because of a question, yes. One could be a regular Ludicolo, and the other could be a shiny, but how would you make the third Ludicolo look different so the player knows which is which? That one will constantly have its eyes closed and be playing with maracas. That's how you know. It's just constantly dancing around with maracas. Here's a few more questions from Blizz M. Do you plan on buying Splatoon 2 when it comes out? If so, do you think you'd feature it on your channel? There's a yes and a no here. I'd love to feature Splatoon 2 on my channel and maybe just do either some streams or some goofs or just some play around or whatever. Problem is, I have not bought Splatoon 2 yet. I'm a little short on money because I had to buy a new laptop, so we had to halt buying new video games. I had this whole system planned out where it's like, okay, there's so many video games coming out that I'm just going to buy one a month, but I kind of had to give up the next couple of months here to help pay off the laptop. If you were to do a series like Phoenix Wright Dub for a different series, what would it be? Fire Emblem Support Conversations. It is one I have thought about for a while. What moveset Final Smash Victory theme Codec Call and Palatina's Guidance would you give Alvin and the Chipmunks? So they could be like ice climbers, but there's 3 of them. Man, if you thought chain grabbing was bad before, there you go, Alvin and the Chipmunks. How would they fight? They would use sound-based singing attacks and just kind of swarm attack. Final Smash would be them singing a song that for some reason kills everybody. And their victory theme would be that Christmas Time Is Here song. Codec Call and Palatina's Guidance. Man, can you imagine just, Snake talking about Otakon? There are 3 singing chipmunks here. I think I watched this show as a kid. I don't know. It'd be really weird. Here's a couple questions from Musomania27. I've been hearing that Fates is one of the worst Fire Emblem games. What are your opinions on that statement? First thing you gotta realize is the people making that statement are the same people who previously thought Awakening was the worst Fire Emblem game of all time. I.e., what we call Fire Emblem elitists, who think that the original games before Awakening were the best ever, and the new ones are trash, and nothing will ever change their mind. Nothing wrong with that, but those are the people who are saying that Fates is the worst Fire Emblem game of all time. That being said, I think Fates is very, very obviously, mechanically, and visually superior to Fire Emblem Awakening. Pretty much took everything that Awakening had and made it better. The maps are far more interesting and fair and challenging, and there's more characters, and the duel and pair-up systems are much more fair and make more sense. They're a lot better to strategically plan out. There's a lot more strategy in the game in general. The characters all have like individual skills, which makes them all feel more like individual units. There's really a different time and place to use every different character. So overall, I think it's a much better game from that standpoint. That being said, the plot sucks. I can't deny that. The plot of Fire Emblem Fates sucks, and it sucks especially because it has so much potential that's kind of thrown out the window. There's a great conflict in Fire Emblem Fates, but it's thrown out the window because there's a third path where it turns out none of the other 2 are in conflict at all. There's a cool idea for a villain with King Garen. He has all this backstory and depth that could make him really interesting and really compelling as a villain, but it's thrown out the window because it turns out there's a greater evil. So it's just a lot of stuff that's thrown away. And then there is just an abundance of fan service that's really distracting from the game. The kid characters serve no purpose. I mean, at least in Awakening, there's this whole subplot about time travel, so it made sense, where the kids in Fates are just kind of scrambled together and make no sense. And then you have certain characters like Camilla, where, like, I really like Camilla as a character, but I'm never going to be able to shake the fact that one of the reasons she's so popular is because of what she wears. And that just doesn't even make sense for her character. It doesn't really match her character, and it doesn't make sense as armor. And that really bothers me. And the entire concept of being able to pet your units is ridiculous. Like, I'm glad they removed some of that from the localization. I wish it didn't exist at all. It's really dumb. So that's my thoughts on Fire Emblem Fates. A lot of the plot stuff and the extra stuff is either weird or not done well, but mechanically, it's a very enjoyable game to play, in my opinion. Are you hyped for Pokemon on Switch? I am. I'm super duper excited. Definitely doing it right away. Thoughts on Hero Academia? What would be your quirk and your hero name? Who's your favorite character so far in this series? I am ashamed to admit that I have not watched it yet. It is on my watch list. I have a preset time within the next couple of weeks where I'm going to be watching it, and I've seen a couple clips of it. And it is something I plan to fix very, very soon. And then I'll come back to this question at that point. Here's a couple more questions from Blizz M. Do you think you do more Soul Calibur 5 on the channel? Definitely. That's been one of my ideas for Let's Goof. I almost recorded some stuff of it earlier this month, but then I ran out of time on it. So I definitely have plans to do that. Which stage builder do you like more, Brawl or Smash 4? Oh man, they both had really good parts to them. I wish you would combine them. Ultimately, I like Smash 4's more because I like the freeform building, but I want the pieces that they had in Brawl as well. I want them to combine those two elements, and then it would be great. If SSB5 had a stage builder, how would you want it to work, and what new features would you include? Well, first I'd include that, like I said. Also, I would love to see them add a feature where you can edit the foreground and background of the stage. Like, you could include, like, this is what the foreground looks like, you know, when you're looking at the stage. This is what the background looks like. And maybe even, like, freely edit, like, the far background of the stage. Like, if you could upload your own photos to display there. I think that'd be fun. I don't know if they'd actually do that, because they'd be concerned with the online aspect of that. But those were some of the ideas I had. If you had to come up with a new big side stage, like Hyrule Temple, Newport City, or the Great Cave Offensive, what would it be, and what would it be from? You know, the traditional idea I always had on that was to do a gigantic Gangplank Galleon stage as a kind of a representation for including K. Rool as a newcomer. But, you know, who knows if that'll happen. The idea is that would be kind of like the pirate ship stage from Wind Waker, but giant. Like, you have crow's nest and lots of ropes you can climb on. And just, you can go inside, like, the captain's quarters and fight in a little, like, enclosed enclave there. I haven't really thought of anything different since then, so that's just what's on my mind there. Here's a question from It's Voshin Gamer. Would you like a new Punch-Out prequel game on the Switch where you play as a young Doc Lewis? Yeah, that sounds cool to me. Here's a couple questions from the Smashmaster 9000. Which would you rather have? A sword that can act like a gun, or a gun that can act like a sword? I mean, I'm kind of a sword guy, so I'd go with the sword with a gun on it. Even though it'd probably be less wieldy. Here's some questions from Admiral N30. If they added a light type to Pokemon, what would be its super effective advantages and disadvantages? You know what I think would be funny, actually, is if light and dark were both good and bad against each other. Like, light is super effective against dark, but then dark is also super effective against light. That would be really funny. Light could also be good against... How about electricity? So electricity actually has some more weaknesses, and that kind of makes sense. Light could also be weak against... steel? Because it reflects it? There's some ideas. Thoughts on the 3D Metroid 2 remake? I think that's great. Of course, some people were, either upset or mixed. I was like, oh yeah, they canceled, the fan-made one and then did their own. It's like, well, obviously that one had to be in development for a longer amount of time, I would imagine. I mean, I don't know exactly how game development works, but that looks like the type of thing they've already been working on. And I mean, it just makes sense. Like, everything else had already been remade up to that point, I think. And that makes sense. I mean, they already redid the original Metroid, so coming out with a Metroid 2 makes sense. Thoughts on the Super Nintendo Classic Edition? That's awesome. That'd be great if they did an N64 one next. Here's a few questions from Farodus. Do you think Helix is the worst character in ARMS? Oh, no. I know more people who use Helix than people who use Master Mummy. Have you ever played Mark of the Ninja? And if so, what did you think of the ending? I have not played Mark of the Ninja, so I'm sorry that I cannot answer your question. Is purple still your favorite color? Yes, it is. Chicken Crispies asks, do you have any predictions or hopes for Prime 4? I'm hoping that they'll give Silex a big role in it. I think they've implied that a couple times. I hope that Ridley will make appearance again as a boss. And I'm hoping that it'll keep the same gameplay style as the original trilogy. Are you planning on seeing the Justice League movie? Yes. Here's some questions from Super Mario Fan 03. I have a serious question to ask you. Is this question serious enough? Seriously. What is your favorite gaming genre? I tend to go with fighting. I like RPGs a lot. I might even like them more than fighting, but I always say fighting. Because I can get really sucked into fighting games and just keep on playing them and playing them and playing them. How big is your video game collection, and would you do a video game collection video showcasing each game you own like everyone else is doing? That might take me a while. I have a pretty good sized collection. Like, it's not, like, massive. I'm definitely not a collector, like some of these people who have shelves upon shelves of, like, here's every NES game that was ever released in North America. No, I just have games that generally interest me, or that I grew up with, or this and that. But I guess I could do a video like that at some point, if people are interested. If you're interested in that, comment below. Here's some more questions from PSP123. Do you think it's possible to rework certain SSB4 stages that have flaws to them? Like, say, the dual plane gimmick of Jungle Hijinks, or the lack of footing in the Bowser section of Paper Mario. Yeah, I don't see why not. I think you could do that. Since we didn't see it at E3, what are your current thoughts on whether or not a Smash 4 Deluxe port will happen? Maybe I'm just being optimistic, but I feel like the lack of showing one so far means that they're working more towards either something full-fledged new, which is awesome, or a port with a lot of new stuff, which is also awesome. I think the fact that they haven't showed it off yet means that they're doing something big with it. How well do you think each champion from Breath of the Wild would work as their own individual Smash character? I think all of them would work out pretty well. They all have, weapons that we've seen that would all be fairly unique. Rivali as an archer, and Daruk with his boulder breaker, Mipha with her spear, and Urbosa with her sword and shield. And I mean, you can add in some of the things that have been, standard things for those characters' races to do as attacks. Have Mipha do things like the Zorafin Boomerang and the Dolphin Dive, have Daruk do things like the Goron Roll and the Goron Pound, and they have their own special abilities that we know of already, like Daruk's Protection or Urbosa's Fury. So I think they would actually all work out as really great Smash characters. Shadowboxer522 asks, do you think Punch-Out will come to Switch? I hope so. I would love to see more Punch-Out. I really like Punch-Out. And the last thing is not a question, but is a comment from Classy Polar. I made the fan art. You may repost it if you want. I deleted it because people kept making negative comments. The first thing I want to say is that is too bad that people are making negative comments. Because art is a wonderful thing that everyone should be able to make and create and freely express. Although, yes, criticism is necessary to improve and grow, negativity does not aid in that. As a music teacher, I'm always a big advocate of people continuing to grow. I mean, for me myself, just doing these videos, I think I do a pretty good job, but I know I still have a lot of room for improvement, and I strive to do better as I make more videos. And secondly, I cannot express in words how much I appreciate your fan art or anyone's fan art. Because I tend to see, at best, a piece of fan art for my channel once a year. So I really, really cherish that stuff. And I'm gonna, even though I posted it on the Facebook and Twitter, I'm gonna post it right here too. Check it out. It is a fan art made by Classy Polar of If I Ever Did an LP of A Hat in Time. And I think it's awesome. And with that, leave your questions for next time below. And I will see you for whatever video you see me on next. See you then.